The Woody Show presents Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Hi, I'm Flea.
My name is Anthony from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Everybody, welcome to the Red Hot Chili Peppers Woody Show press conference. Please welcome the guys, Anthony and Chad. Well, this is like a press conference like you'd have for something like super like official and then, you know, briefings and things like this, except these are your biggest fans, submitted questions on our website. And so we send them over to your people to make sure that all these questions are going to be questions that you guys would have a great time answering. And so we want you guys to just have some fun with the fans having fun with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and get to ask your questions of the band. So, I mean, these guys really don't need any introduction. It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers, everybody.
Well, it's half. It's half.
Yeah.
Half. It's half.
It's
the Red Hot.
Yeah. So again, these questions were submitted on the website. These are your biggest fans, and so just guys, one at a time. You will make sure you speak into the microphone, and we're gonna go with the first question. Where's Christina? Christina Lee. Okay, here's Christina.
Question is, having created music together for so long and through so many cultural shifts in music, how do you keep true to your sound but still remain innovative and relative?
There's a little bit of ESP going on in the room right now, because as I was driving over here listening to music on the radio, I was pondering the same thing myself, and I don't actually know the answer to that question, but I have the same question in my heart. Like, how do we keep doing this? Because we started, what it was? I was listening to the Kinks recording Girl, You Really Got Me Now from 1964, which was really 5 years after Buddy Holly started, putting out records, yet the change was so huge in rock. Like, music just keeps moving so fast. And I don't think that we've really shifted every 5 years as heavily as like from Buddy Holly to the Kinks, but we do keep shifting on some level. Just, I don't know, I guess we're a bit possessed in the end. We care a lot about music and we have fun doing it. And when the particular chemistry of these boys in the band get together in the middle of summer to write music, we always have a little something to say.
So from like the early albums that you guys put out to the earlier sound of the Chili Peppers to the latest album, I mean, like, so how does that happen? Do you just get interested in other sounds, or is it like one instrument that maybe you take a liking to and want to incorporate that more into it? Or like how does the sound end up changing? Is it based on other things that you're hearing and kind of get inspired by that?
I would just say by means of magic. We don't think too much about it. We don't get too overly analytical. I think we just let the spirit move and, pay attention along the way. And life is inspiring. Pain is inspiring. The changes in the world are inspiring. Nature's inspiring. And, we've also been lucky and lots of kind of fortuitous accidents have happened along the way. We had the great John Frusciante playing music with us for years. And one day he up and quit. He's like, oh yeah, I'm done doing this whole rock and roll thing. And we're like, okay, understandable. Josh, do you mind playing guitar with us? And then we had this whole new reservoir of blood, pouring into our existence. And that, inspired two more records of music. And that just kind of keeps happening along the way.
Do you feel pressure from some of the fans who maybe expect a certain thing, or
I feel pressure from Christina personally. Yeah. That's about it. Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Is it Maddie? All right. Here's Maddie.
So your guys' music has a strong generational effect, reaching to both parents and their kids. My own dad really loved listening to you in college, and now that I'm in college, I do the same. Like our whole life, we were raised on your music. What do you guys attribute that generational effect to?
Chad, take it away.
I first have to compliment you on your skull tattoo on your leg.
Thank you.
That's very nice.
Thank you.
And the old school shirt that you got there.
Gotta rep it.
Yeah, very nice. We don't really pay attention too much to other trends or outside things. Like, we're aware of everything. Like Anthony was saying, the things that we do in our lives, and that affects us as people and who we are as band members and songwriters and just people in general. But we just kind of do what pleases us. Sounds kind of selfish, but what we do first is the music that gets us off, and then hopefully that's going to translate to people when it comes out. And we're so grateful for our fans that have been with us through generations. I mean, we played in Oakland the other night, and I looked out right to the left, right in the front row, and there was two parents, looked like they're probably in their 40s, and then two kind of younger teenager, probably their kids, and we'd start a song, and they just like high-fiving, and they're like, yes, and they're all singing the songs, and it blows me away. You know, I don't know. It's fantastic, and it's amazing, but you know, it's.
I have a theory.
You got a theory?
I have a theory.
All right. Well, good. I have no idea.
I have a theory. So
I'm glad he does.
Yeah, I have a theory. Vibrationally speaking, I think we've always represented the slightly left of middle of the road, or slightly north of the middle of the road, or just something other than the middle of the road. And perhaps the children of those people that were not middle of the road people themselves feel similar to the way their parents did, and so they kind of connect with the fact that we're not just the normal soup of the day on the radio. We're something slightly off. And so there's that. And then there's this little antidote, which is concerning you, Mr. Smith.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, look out. So I have a very young son. He's 9 years old. He goes to school. And it's just a weird thing when your 9-year-old comes home from school and says, Dad, my classmates went to your concert last night. And I'm like, what? You know, you're 9. How can your classmates be coming to the concert? And he's like, well, you know, their favorite song is this and that. And they came with their parents.
And they drive.
They drive, and yeah, they're at the bar. So one girl who was in 5th grade, name of Ava, went with her mother. And her mother said, do you want to leave halfway through the concert? She's like, no, I'm staying to the bitter end. And she did. And then after the whole show was over, she looked at her mom and she said, Mom, why does Will Ferrell play drums with the Red Hot Chili Peppers? I kid you not.
I don't know who that is.
There you have it.
There you have it.
There you have it.
That's how it goes.
Well, there's also something too. I think after you've been around for a while,
True story.
like when you listen to music with your parents. If your parents are listening to something from Blood Sugar Sex Magic, you know, and you grow up and you have this nostalgic love for an older song from the band, and then you guys keep releasing new music and it's still relevant. I mean, there was an interesting stat that I was reading. I didn't even realize this is so crazy. So, Dark Necessities, which is obviously on the new album, 13th. #1 single on the Billboard Alternative Rock Song chart, right? That's a crazy long time that beat the record of Linkin Park. So like you're putting out songs there's a lot of people that put out newer records and they don't go anywhere. You guys obviously have that staying power. So you have the nostalgic element to it of maybe something you remember listening to with your parents. And now these kids are falling in love with the new music. And so it really kind of brings people together too. I have absolutely zero musical ability whatsoever, but it made a lot of sense in my mind when I was thinking about it.
Bring on the stats.
Yeah. All right, where is Christopher? Christopher back here. Make my way over here. What's up, Christopher? What is your question?
We got the same T-shirt.
Oh, cool.
You got a real one, I got a fake one. Mine's falling apart. Look at that.
It's all good. It's all good. Good afternoon, guys. So my question is, when was the life-changing moment you guys knew that the Red Hot Chili Peppers had made it in the music industry?
Made it?
Yes.
After our very first show. Yeah. Very first show, we didn't really know what we were getting into. We had one song, and we showed up at a club, and we hadn't even practiced it with amps or anything like that. We had a little practice session, a cappella in a living room, and we played the first show, and it was one song, and when we were done, we're like, all right, we've made it. We've done it. And we really had no concept of longevity or other levels of success or being on the radio or selling records. We just knew that artistically, energetically, creatively, as a brotherhood, we had succeeded, and that was pretty apparent to us. And then along the way, there were many, many different odd stages of, peaks and valleys. And anytime you write a song, you feel like you've succeeded in life as a musician because you woke up in the morning with nothing and you go to sleep and suddenly you have this very valuable, beautiful thing that just materialized. And then, so we were kind of cruising, and then when Chad joined the band in '88,
correct,
there was this whole new avenue kind of opened up that we didn't even contemplate, prior to Chad coming, which was, being on the radio, something about the way that he and John, yeah, but Chad had a particular way of playing that kind of expanded our horizons, as well as our melodious six-stringer frusciante. And so then we started doing this whole other thing that we didn't even know existed or didn't even care about too much. You know, we were sort of like the king of the clubs. But really, it's more about the creative accomplishment of getting together and making music that makes you feel like you've made it.
So of all the cool things that you've gotten to do, the experiences you've gotten to have, places you've gotten to play, what was like the biggest, what you feel is like your rock star moment? Like, oh my God, I see some of these old documentaries of guys walking out like, Wembley Stadium to 100,000+ people. What was the biggest rock star moment for you guys?
I think it was a laundromat on Alvarado.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Last week. we played some concerts when in England in 2004, I believe.
Hyde Park?
In Hyde Park. We played 3 concerts at these big... He knows. He was there. And for some reason, we'd become quite popular in England, and we sold out this big outdoor thing for three nights. And growing up, I was a big English music fan, junkie, really. I mean, my older brother and all the bands from the late 60s and early 70s, the Led Zeppelins and the Queens and the Who and Deep Purple and all those kind of bands. And I love those bands, I still do, but it was a big deal to go and play where these bands have played. We played before, but not in this sort of setting, and we were recording it for a live album, and Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin is there, and the guys from Queen are there, and the guys from Sabbath are there. And I was just like, wow, man, that was a pretty exciting moment.
Wait, are you leaving out Ian Anderson?
Oh, yeah, and Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull was there, too. Thank you very much. And James Brown opened for us.
Well, see, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, dude, James Brown is opening.
Yeah, it was
pretty
like,
cool.
wow,
James
man,
Brown.
this is like upside down, you know?
The summer before he passed away. It was a very fortunate experience.
Because you guys got to do a lot of cool stuff. That's got to be a tough
There's just
decision.
one. There's
Yeah, that's what I mean.
there's a million.
Where's not you, Anthony? Where's Anthony? There's Anthony. Your question.
All right. So you guys have been playing together for a long time now, and you've been traveling the world and probably living in pretty close proximity to one another. What are some things you found out about one another that you wish you didn't know?
Wow, that I wish I didn't know, that I'm not necessarily comfortable telling you in this public setting.
How much time you got?
Yeah, I mean, you really don't want to start painting too vivid of a portrait right now, but I can tell you that everything under the sun has been discovered about one another due to that proximity. And along the way, there was a time when, there were different elements, different forces at work, and
We were just talking about him the other night on the
were we?
airplane.
Were we
Yes,
talking about that?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
Chad
were.
tried to kill me once, so I discovered
I
that.
don't remember.
Yeah, I discovered that he's got a psycho killer within that you do not want to unleash.
Nope, not with a bottle of tequila.
I escaped with my life. Chased me over a few unmade beds in a motel in Chicago. Things that you don't want to know. Well, I think we all have things that we wish the world didn't know about us, but something beautiful does happen when you get found out and then people accept you anyways. Like, oh, you're a total freak and you do that and that's weird, but hey, I still love you. So that's part of being in a band. Yeah, we all have that. We're all full of our mistakes and our foibles and our shortcomings and our misshapen psychological patterns and whatnot, but in the end, we accept. That's what you're getting out of me on that one.
All right, where is Christian Guzman? Your question.
At what point in life did each of you realize that a regular 9-to-5 lifestyle wasn't for you, and how did you start acting on that?
Good question. I worked as a file clerk when I was in high school, and it hurt my heart and soul to be within a glass building with no air flowing through it. And I was like, I just can't do this. And I did discover the value of any kind of work, and earning your keep in life made me feel good. So even when I worked in a liquor store, I felt good about it, but I just wasn't that structured, I suppose. And then when I arrived here today into this building, and I was walking through the courtyard headed for the elevators, I was like, "Oh my God, this could have been a whole different reality for me if I wouldn't have, basically chosen some friends that were very good at playing music." So, high school is my official answer.
Have you gone back to that liquor store?
John and Pete's Liquor on La Cienega and Melrose, and I did go back. It was the last time I went. Yeah. I went back and said hello to my old bosses, and might have even I might have even paid them some money that I accidentally ended up with of theirs back in the day.
Crazy.
It's an accounting mistake. No big deal.
Yeah.
Happens to everybody.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
I was 16, and I just didn't quite have my ethical morals in order at that moment. But later, I got to go and apologize. So,
what about you, Chad?
I started playing the drums when I was 7, so I had found my passion at a very early age, which is great. But I did have a few odd jobs early on. I worked in a pancake house. I was the dishwasher, and it was not a good job. I didn't enjoy that at all. I ate a lot of the cold French fries after I would come in. After school at noon, it was a work-study program. And I'd smoke a lot of weed on the way over, and I was really hungry.
Hence the cold French fries?
Yep. And those cold French fries are good from like 10 o'clock. And there'd be stacks of dishes from the morning. Oh. But like Anthony, I learned the work ethic part of it. And I had I was a caddy, a golf caddy. Like I did lots of sort of manual things that it made me appreciate, like, God, you know what? If I can do this music thing, this is going to be way better because I really like it. And, girls, drugs, rock and roll. I was really into that. And this guy in the back, yeah. By like 14, I kind of abandoned sports and the other things, and I really focused on. I really wanted to be a professional musician, like we were talking about earlier. And my first gig, I got in a cover band in Detroit in the summer when I got out of high school, and I started playing 6 nights a week, 3 sets a night around the Detroit area. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I've made it. This is it. This is amazing. I'm partying and walking around on my bare feet in these stinky Detroit bars and playing 3 sets a night and girls and getting home at 5 a.m. It was awesome. It was amazing. Making $165 a week. Woo! And I loved it. I was like, this is sure. Would I want to be in Led Zeppelin? Yeah, but like I was like, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional musician.
I think they already had a drummer.
Where is Alex? What's your question?
Of all the songs you've written in the past, which of them have meant the most to the band? Also, where do you get the inspiration for the covers of the albums?
Like to everybody in the band collectively, but you all agree. I'm sure each person has a different song or whatever that is.
Meant the most. That's really a tough one because it's constantly changing, and it would be like if you had given birth to several hundred children. It's hard to choose your favorite child. It's nice to see which songs resonate with the population the most. That's kind of an amazing phenomenon because you never know. I would say that Under the Bridge is kind of our longest lasting stalwart of emotional resonance with humans. And when we wrote it, we didn't have that. That wasn't what we were thinking. We're thinking, this is weird. We're writing a soft little ballad, which we weren't used to. But I think that there's something about the spirit of that song that just kind of keeps on cruising. And it's shocking to see the type of people that love that song. Like I was sitting on Sunset Boulevard next to a car full of gangsters, and they were tough as F, and when they rolled down the window, they were listening to Under the Bridge. They looked like they would rob you and kill you, but they were just having a tender moment there on Sunset. But for the moment, I can tell you my favorite song to play is off our new record. It's off The Getaway, and it's Dark Necessities. There's something energetically satisfying about playing that song right now. Because I think lyrically and whatnot, it speaks to the more recent past. But it's always changing.
Yeah, I have to agree with Anthony that for whatever reason, Under the Bridge really connects with people. You walk down the street or all over the world where we play, and people come up to you and it's just like, you don't know what the song means to me and how it helped me get through something, or really has a real connection. And it's interesting because he's being kind of modest about it, but often when we write music, the music comes first and inspires him to write lyrics and melodies. And that's one of the first songs that I, being in the band, where he had already written this as a poem, or as words or lyrics. And like he said, we didn't have any kind of softer songs. We were pretty hard at that point, everything kind of fast and hard. And our producer at the time, Rick Rubin, saw this and like, what's this? And he's like, this is something I wrote, And he's like, this is really
Last
good.
page of the notebook.
This is really, he was sneaking in your notebook while you were like in the bathroom or something. What is this? And so that is something that got inspired by something that he wrote first. And I don't know. Yeah, that song. It's as far as the song, just the essence of being a really well written thing, that piece of music. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that one. But right now, it's fun to play the new songs, and there's a song on the record called "Dreams of a Samurai." I think it might be the last song on our new album, and we've been playing that one, and this one's really fun. I get to kind of do a little drumming at the end, a little extra. Keith Mooney.
Little odyssey.
Maybe that's why I like it so much. I've always loved that song, but it's fun to play.
As far as the album covers, we all chip in one way or another. But I can tell you that the Mother's Milk cover was directly inspired by a Sly and the Family Stone poster. That I was in love with Sly in the 80s, and he had a poster where he was standing large holding his band, and I thought, how cool would it be if there was a big beautiful woman holding us, and so it's kind of a steal/ode to Sly Stone, that particular cover. But we had a cover that came to Frusciante in a dream, Californication. Yeah, that was his dream that the sky was in the water and
There you go.
So
I think Flea saw it somewhere. The Getaway image.
Yes, on Tumblr.
Somewhere, yeah. And he was like, "Hey, does anybody know who did this? Because I really like it," or something like that.
Yeah. Our next question was Wilfredo.
How did Mr. Brian Burton impact the creative process on the Getaway album, as opposed to the other producers you have worked with in the past?
A ton. His methodology was completely different than anything else we'd ever done before, and that's kind of why we chose him. We wanted to mix it up. We wanted to try something new. We love Rick Rubin. He had been our man since 1990. So it was difficult to make a shift, first of all, because Rick is kind of like the fifth Beatle. And Brian just has a slightly more modern and forward approach and a little bit less traditional rock band approach. And we knew what it was to sound like a traditional rock band where, just bass, drums, and guitar playing together. And that's a beautiful thing. And it's, in these days, a bit of a lost art because everybody's sampling and breaking things down to a click track and playing on the grid, so to speak. But Brian does that in a wildly artistic way. He's got a very genius sense of music. So we thought, well, here's a guy who loves music, knows us, and is still capable of producing a very modern sound. Let's see what happens. Let's try this experiment. And it kind of started with you.
Yeah. I mean, we had a bunch of songs that we had written, and the way that we normally do it, we get in a room and we write them, and then we invite a producer in to have him have his input. And Brian came down, and he's like, I really like these songs, and I can help you make these ones better and do my thing. And he did. He worked with us on a few songs, and it was cool. It was great, and we were like, okay, great, let's do it. And then about a week or so before we were supposed to start recording, Flea went snowboarding and broke his arm really bad, right? So 6 months later, took him a long time to heal, poor guy, we were going to start recording. And a little bit before that, Brian came and said, I can do this thing, and I'm into it, but if you really want to use what I do, my forte, we should write songs, come in the studio and just write some songs from scratch. What? From scratch? What do you mean from scratch?
We had 20 songs written already.
No, we got all these we've been working on for the last 12 months. Yeah, those are good. No, I really like them, and they're going to be great, but let's try it. This is what I do. And if you guys, it was an experiment.
And that's where we came up with Dark, though, right? In the studio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 6 or 7, we did like 9, and I'd say probably 6 of them were on the album.
Right.
Like half the record. So, and he kind of comes from a sort of a hip hop aesthetic where you start with a drum beat and kind of build the tracks. So we would listen to some music, and I would go in and play some drums. You want me to go in and play by myself? Really? Okay. So it was really different for us, where we were all about everybody playing together all the time. And it was a real challenge, but we had to surrender to that and just go, okay, let's see what happens. And it worked out great. And we started coming up with all this new music, and poor Anthony, we had to give him 5 songs at once. Here, write some words all of a sudden. And it was a challenge, but it was a good one. We needed that. We really did for us to keep growing and changing as a band. And I really thank him for that, because he did a great job.
He's a fun guy to work with.
Yeah, he's cool. He's into it. He's there all day, all night. First one there, last one to go, and he's a studio rat.
Jeremy, your question for the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Hey, guys. So you've traveled around the world a couple of times over your long career, being with many different other cultures. Other than the United States and LA, what other country and city do you always get a little bit excited playing, and why?
So many. Yeah, that is kind of a beautiful part about this job, is seeing the world, and at least having a day or 2 or 3 to discover new stuff in the world. And even on our last tour, we've been to Europe 40 times or something as a band, but this last one we got to go to places that we hadn't seen before. We went to a place called Luxembourg, which is one of the tiniest little countries in the world and hundreds of years old. But as a consistent place to get excited about going to play, I would say Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, just because people's passion is kind of on tilt down there. You could just be in a tiny little rock band from nowhere, and they would treat you like, the Beatles if you showed up. And they just really care about music and super supportive. And there's just a vibe and intensity in the air down there. We still have a bit of a crush on England, so that gets our juices flowing. Australia gets the juices flowing. Yeah. Where for you?
I grew up in Detroit, so besides the United States, I really like Detroit. I have to give Detroit a shout out, because I love Detroit. But yeah, the places that he said, for sure, and it kind of depends. Often when you travel, and we've been doing it a lot for many years, you go places and you make friends, and when you go to these places, you see these people, and you rekindle these relationships, and it makes the experience so much fun. And it's always, if you go somewhere and you know somebody, they know where to take you, where to go to eat, or to do the right, instead of being more like a tourist. So there's, Belgium, or I see it in Holland. We have great friends in Holland.
Do we?
Yes.
We have great friends there?
Hank.
Okay, Hank. We also have a girl who follows us around the world.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a girl called Julia from Spain, Madrid, outside of Madrid.
Yep.
So the girl works in a supermarket. She's like a checkout girl or whatever, and does not make a huge amount of money at her job, but somehow manages to come to every single show we play.
And we don't know how she can afford it. Still,
no matter where we are.
It's crazy. You name it.
You know, she'll show up in Melbourne, Australia. And
Alaska.
like, Julio, what are you doing here?
Japan.
I think she's been to several hundred in a row without missing a single one. So now she's kind of become our mascot, and we treat her with love and respect. And,
Amazing.
You know,
At this point, are you sponsoring her?
on some level, yeah.
Well, we give her tickets and passes, but
You know, we sponsor that part. Yeah,
we sponsor
Right.
that part. Yeah, but Flea was telling me not too long ago, he was like, in Australia, which is quite a long ways.
Far from Spain.
Long way from Spain. And he's walking around, and he sees Julia on the street. Hey, how are you? Good. And she speaks Spanish, very little English. Kind of hard to communicate with her a little bit. You know, we do our best. But he's like, well, where are you staying? And she says, I sleep on the bus stop. She's sleeping in like a Greyhound bus station. Like, it's dangerous. It worries me about her. I think now on, I'm going to send her up to your room.
Okay.
All right.
Well, she must be an amazing cashier, the world's best cashier. And she's got a lot of time off for being a cashier, which is also pretty awesome. Take that vacation time all day.
We've also been to the North
Yeah.
Pole, just for the record, as a band.
Played for Santa Claus.
Russian Santa Claus. Had no pants, which was odd.
Such a cute couple right here in the front. Look at this.
Liz, what is your question for the band?
As a fan, your music has helped me heal and has helped me get through some hard times in life. What are some artists that you listen to that help you when times get tough?
Good question. Good question, but a massive question. What's the go-to?
Depends on what's going on.
It does. It depends. I'll say Marvin Gaye. Just the uplifting nature of his being as a musician helps me heal whenever I listen to it. But on some level, I think every single time I ever listen to good music, I am healed a little bit, even on the way over here. And you hear enough good music, it kind of rights the ship. So that's just a constant occurrence. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's the most, sometimes the Sex Pistols heal my soul. You know, something as abrasive as and non-melodic as, God Save the Queen, just kind of, okay, I'm good now. So it could happen anytime, anywhere.
But do you try to find something that kind of fits the mood? Like if you're feeling down, do you try to find something that, allows you to feel sad for a minute? Or do you try to find something that brings you out of it?
Well, I think sometimes it finds me. It comes looking for me. But I'm not afraid of feeling sad. I think that's a positive emotion when you're feeling sad and then you find music that's as sad as you are, then it's just more of a camaraderie thing. All those emotions are just kind of necessary, and music just kind of fills that void, that space. But I'm honored that we can do that for you, for sure.
Well, we'd like to thank the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like to thank the guys for being here. And seriously, the most thoughtful answer. I've done 1 billion band interviews over the years, and these are the most thoughtful and well thought out answers. A lot of times you get 2 or 3 word answers, and really appreciate you guys being here and
I appreciate the questions,
answering the questions from the people here. Can we get a round of applause for the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Anthony and Chad, thank you guys so much, and thank you for attending the Woody Show press conference, you guys.
The Woody Show. The Woody Show.